Okay, so I finished, and it wasn't bad. It just wasn't great. I don't know how to explain it. So the story moved along. Okay, so I really don't know. I just don't know what to say. The story moved along. I listened to it on audiobook. So in the beginning, I stopped a few times. It got a little slow at times. The narrator was fine, but it wasn't like grabbing me like, I got you, stay with me. So I had to grab it and go back a few times. Jende and Neni's story was a story of struggle. They worked really hard, wanted, in their country in Limbe, they wanted to come to the States for a better life. Jende came first. Then Neni came with the help of Jende's cousin. He got a job as a chauffeur with one of the Lehman Brothers by his cousin lying about what he did before. Also, they lied to get him in the country too. So he was on this temporary visa, so that was going to be a struggle. His job was fine until the company went down and there was scandal with Clark, his boss. And before this scandal, his wife was worried that he was cheating, and so she wanted Jende to spy on her husband, but he had agreed via contract not to do that for anyone. But his husband, her husband or his boss was like, "Go for it. Just tell her everything except that one spot. Don't say nothing about that one spot." So he did what he said. He wrote in this journal. He told her everything they did except for when he went to those places, and she was happy. She was fine. Now, side note, she's got drinking, depression, Vicodin drug issues. They have 2 kids. Whole hot mess, Miss Wife. She's a whole hot mess. Also, just is sad because she's rich and lonely, and that's no way to be. Rich and lonely? How? How, Sway? How we rich and lonely? She tells, once it comes out that Clark is involved in this prostitute scandal, she tells Clark to get rid of Jende because we assume basically because he's a liar and didn't tell her the truth. And so now she's mad and no, we let him go. So Clark lets him go. Meanwhile, there's all this struggle about Jende and Neni staying in the country, and it seems like the visa's not going to be approved. And so she starts talking to her friends about options, one including marrying, somebody for a green card, divorcing Jende, marrying somebody else. And then her professor for nursing school, she told Jende that they could adopt Leomi if they got deported, so Leomi could be raised as an American. Jende lost his bleeping mind, and he hit Neni. And I had liked him up to then. I was like, look at this man doing what he got to do for his family. Neni's working. This family is great. They got wholesome family values. And then his ass go and hit her. You for real? You for real? So anyway, after I had a brain beatdown for Jende, Nene was a woman who was going to take care of her husband in the best way she knows how or knew how, even if that meant that she had to suffer while building him up. Oh, okay. So anyway, moving past the beatdown, Jende decides he's not going to wait to be deported. He's going to request voluntary deportation or voluntary leaving. So that's approved. Oh, but before that, backtrack. So after Jende got fired, Neni, he tried to find jobs like, but nobody was hiring for a chauffeur. His old taxi company was like, we don't have any space. So he got 2 jobs as a dishwasher, and still wasn't making half of what he was making with Mr. Clark. So that makes me think of Lean on Me. Random. They were suffering, and so Neni went to the Clark's house, or the Lehman's house, and asked to speak to the wife. And so she went in, she asked genuinely, kindly, like, can you please help us? Like, we don't have any options. Like, please help us. And she laughed, like, basically laughed in her face, like, what you expect me to do? And so then he said, she asked again, and it wasn't going to happen. And so she opened her purse, pulled out her phone, and said, I have a friend who writes for a paper, and he told me I can get a lot of money for photos like this of women like you. Say what now? Neni had found her gangster. So she shows her the picture, and it's of her, of the wife, doing, using Vicodin and drinking, and basically like laid out. So Neni had took this picture at their home. I think they were in the Hamptons, and she was doing some maid work or kitchen work or something. And she took the picture so that if something happened and the police came, she would be covered to say, this is how I found her, not I did this to her. So it wasn't until she was down on, they were down and out, and they were about to be deported, and she was like, listen, I got to use the chips I got. So she pulled it out, and, there was a little like, you be and this and this and that. You're not going to do this to me. Like, blah, 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 blah. Actually, just go walk wherever you're going to walk in your house and give me my money. Run me my monies. Then he said, run me my money. While the wife went to go, I don't know why I can't think of her name right now. While the wife went to go run Neni her money, she came back with 10 grand, and Neni left. She went home, she talked to her husband. Jende was furious, like, who did I marry? And like, you wicked woman, and blah, blah, blah. Boy, sit down and listen to me tell you why I did what I did. Not to say it's right, but maybe it's right according to Neni. So anyway, they have a little altercation. Okay, fast forward back to, he decided to keep the money. And then was like, I didn't realize I married such a strong woman. Oh, now I'm strong when you're not mad no more and you thinking we got 10 grand. Hot mess. So, anyway, they're about to leave, instead of staying. It's really sad. Like, they're leaving their dream of coming to America for a better life. Clark and his family. Oh, I forgot. The whole reason I rewind was because a few months after Neni did the blackmail, as the wife called it, she died. They had for crying herself to death. Like, her son went to India instead of going to business school or college just for something, law school, I don't know. Her 10-year-old son was unhappy because their marriage was failing. Clark was obviously cheating, and his company had fallen apart. The wife was sad and depressed. Most of the main characters in the book are not having a happy life. Like, they are living and there are good moments, but ultimately the trajectory is going real bad. They're having this little party to go away. Jende goes to visit Clark to say goodbye. Thank you for everything that you've done for us. They never mentioned if Clark knew or not what Neni did to his wife, but in this moment where Jende was saying, thank you for everything you've done for us. We really appreciate it and would not have had the life that we did have while we were here if it weren't for you and your family. And so that's when Clark found out about all of the visa stuff, and he was like, why didn't you tell me? And I could have helped. Now, I don't think had he told him before his wife died, before all the drama had happened, if he really would have hired him, knowing that he was having visa trouble. But I think after all of his drama with work and wife and family, and scandal, that his heart swelled a little bit, and he felt connected to Jende in a way that maybe he didn't feel in any of his other connections in life. And so he was like, I'll help. Like, why didn't you tell me? Like, let me talk to this person or that person. And Jende was like, no, it's fine. Like, I'm leaving. It's too late. It's too late. So Clark wrote him a check. They never told them how much this check was for. But Jende and Neni talked about going away back to Mbue and basically being royalties. But I think, like, there are moments here and there that I missed. But I think it was just a story of, like, it was such a realistic story of life that it was almost hard to see it as a great fiction story that ends in a way that you would want it. Like, we like to have good endings, even though life is not like that. And so I think because their biggest fear was having to go back to Mbue, and they had to go back to Mbue. So yes, they went back with a little more money than they had, or maybe a lot more money than they had when they came over. But starting this story, I just felt like they were going to get the American dream that people were working so hard for, but they only lived it for their biggest fear when they started this story was to have to go back to Mbue. And they had to go back to Mbue. Like, I mean, I get that they went back with more money and that it was a choice versus, like, being forced with deportation. But Nene didn't want to go back. She didn't want her son to grow up in a country where she feared, they both feared that they were going to be nothing, in their words. And so, yes, they went back with more money, but I didn't think the story was going to end there. Like, when I started this, we ended where we began. And I think maybe that's why at the beginning of this review, I was like, I mean, I read it. Is because it was this circle that, one, I didn't expect. And I know deportation is hard, and there may be people out there that are like, this is exactly what it's like. You get your hopes up and then it's over. And so I don't know how realistic it is, except for my very limited knowledge of what's in the news and the papers and that kind of stuff. So I definitely don't want to get into whether it is real life or not. But in this fiction book that I was reading, I just would have liked, maybe they go to a different part of Africa that was a little more advanced than where they came from, in hopes of building a little bit of a better life or something like that. But maybe it's just not realistic. And so maybe this book was meant to be, this is how the lives of Cameroonian people are. Even the ones that get out, they don't really get out. And it's just really heartbreaking. Like, You got failed dreams, you got disappointment and depression and careers flopping and children going on their own and saying, you know, Mom, Dad, I don't really care about what you believed. I'm going to go believe what I want to believe, which I don't think is a bad thing. But in the parents' eyes, it was like, why are you disappointing me? Like, what are you doing to me? It was just a lot of doom and gloom. And like, I like doom and gloom mixed with a little greatness. And this was just the moments of greatness or happiness were really revolved around how Jende and Neni had good family, like inside of their household. They were as healthy as they could be with the upbringing that they had. And they seemed happy. Now, when he hit her, I was done. Like, I don't care that you said that the world is jumping on your face, but you don't do it to me. You don't do it to me. I'm not going to rank book and stars, although I think it's helpful. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to say my words, and that's going to be that. But I wish they could have ended in a different place than they began. I think that is the moral of the story for me. They finished where they started, and I never want to be there. I never again want to finish where I started. I always want progression. And so, yeah, that's Behold the Dreamers. I don't regret reading it. So yeah, we'll see what my next book is in the Reading Across Africa Challenge. I'm trying to read from the countries first that have the least amount of books that I can find, because the countries that have a lot, I'm having a hard time deciding which one to pick. So I am choosing from the countries that I can't find a lot of stories from. So yeah, thanks for listening to my review, and hopefully the next book will take me on a different path and a different journey. Thank you, Imbolo, for allowing me to read for you, read with you, or read your words, and to embark upon Jende and Neni's journey. I appreciate you. So yeah, until next time, peace.